Have you ever thought about what it takes to become the most feared warrior in the wizarding world? What if I told you that even the good guys can strike terror into the hearts of their enemies? In today's video, you'll find out why Alastor Moody was the most legendary Auror in the history of magic. Alastor Moody is one of the most intimidating figures in Harry Potter, despite fighting for the side of good. A half-mad wizard with paranoia, but also a master duelist and a true war hero. By the time we meet him, he is already a seasoned veteran, scarred, battle-worn, and both feared and ridiculed. Wizards may joke about his paranoia, but they listen when he speaks. Because when it comes to hunting dark wizards, no one does it better. But how did he earn his terrifying reputation? What battles shaped him? And who were the dark forces he fought? Let's dive in. Born in Scotland into a family of pure-blood wizards, Moody was destined for a life of war. His ancestors were Aurors for generations, hunting dark wizards and sending them to Azkaban. He attended Hogwarts, most likely in Gryffindor, and was a top student. Though little is known about his school years, one thing is certain: he was preparing for a future far more dangerous than ordinary wizarding life. After Hogwarts, he enrolled in Auror training. Despite being called courses, this was no simple education. The training lasted 3 grueling years, covering combat spells, stealth, and intelligence gathering. Aurors weren't just warriors, they were spies, strategists, and detectives. Once he completed his training, he joined the Ministry of Magic's Auror office, but his real test was yet to come. Moody was thrown straight into the chaos of the First Wizarding War. Voldemort and his Death Eaters were rising, and the wizarding world was on fire. This was when Moody cemented his reputation. He fought fearlessly, capturing and imprisoning more Death Eaters than anyone else. He lost an eye, a leg, and covered his body in scars, but he never stopped. His enemies feared him, and his allies saw him as a legend. But war changed him. Even after Voldemort fell, Moody never let his guard down. He refused food or drink from anyone else. He saw conspiracies everywhere, and sometimes he was right. Though many in the ministry started dismissing him as a paranoid old soldier, he never stopped hunting. He was the one who captured Igor Karkaroff, a former Death Eater who later betrayed his own kind to save himself. Before Voldemort's return, Moody finally let his guard down. It cost him dearly. Death Eaters ambushed him in the night, imprisoning him while Barty Crouch Jr. stole his identity to infiltrate Hogwarts. When the truth came out, Moody didn't hesitate. He returned to the fight, leading the Order of the Phoenix after Dumbledore's death. He stood on the front lines once more, refusing to give in. But even the greatest warriors fall. During a mission to protect Harry Potter, Voldemort himself struck Moody down with a killing curse. The legendary Auror was gone, just like that. Moody wasn't just a fighter, he was a master of non-verbal magic, a dueling expert, and one of the most skilled Aurors in history. He taught Nymphadora Tonks, another great Auror, and captured half the prisoners in Azkaban. Even after his death, his presence lingered. Dolores Umbridge used his magical eye to spy on her office, but Harry later stole it and gave it a proper burial. Moody's paranoia wasn't madness, it was survival, and in the end, he proved that true warriors never stop fighting. Have you ever wondered what it takes to become a legend in the wizarding world? What if the price of being the best meant losing everything? Your eye, your leg, your peace of mind. In today's video, you'll discover more untold stories about Alastor Moody, the greatest Auror of all time. Moody wasn't just a warrior, he was a force of nature. His presence alone could silence a room. His name was enough to make Death Eaters shiver. Wizards whispered about him like he was a ghost, an unstoppable hunter. lurking in the shadows. They weren't entirely wrong. Moody didn't just fight dark wizards, he became their worst nightmare. Even before Voldemort's rise, the wizarding world had its fair share of darkness. Dark magic never truly disappears. It festers, it waits, and it grows in the places no one dares to look. Moody made it his mission to find it before it spread. His approach was ruthless. He didn't believe in second chances. If you used dark magic, if you dabbled in curses, if you so much as muttered something sinister under your breath, Moody was watching. His first major case involved a group of rogue wizards practicing blood magic deep in the Scottish Highlands. No one knew how many victims had already been sacrificed before the Ministry caught wind of it. The investigation led straight to Moody's doorstep. They needed someone who wouldn't hesitate, someone who wouldn't be blinded by sympathy or hesitation. Moody went in alone. When he came out, the cult was gone. No one ever learned the details, only that the Ministry found no survivors. That was the first time Moody made headlines. The Ministry's monster hunter, they called him. Some admired him, others feared him, but no one dared question him. During the First Wizarding War, Moody's methods became even more brutal. He believed in fighting fire with fire. The Death Eaters had no mercy, so neither did he. He wasn't interested in capturing them alive if it meant more lives would be lost in the process. He used every spell, every trick, every ounce of knowledge he had. He didn't care about playing fair. Fairness was for people who wanted to die with clean hands. Moody wanted to win. One of his most famous duels happened during a raid on a secret Death Eater hideout in London. The fight spilled out into the streets, curses lighting up the night sky like fireworks. Moody took down 3 Death Eaters single-handedly before facing one of Voldemort's most vicious followers, Evan Rosier. Rosier fought dirty. He aimed for Moody's face, trying to blind him. He succeeded. Moody's left eye was destroyed, but Rosier didn't walk away either. Moody made sure of that. Losing his eye changed him. He replaced it with a magical one, but something deeper shifted inside him. He became even more paranoid, even more relentless. He refused to trust anyone fully, refused to let his guard down for even a second. Some said he lost a part of himself that night. Others believed he gained something, an unstoppable drive that made him more dangerous than ever. As the war dragged on, Moody started to notice something disturbing. Some wizards in the Ministry were turning a blind eye to the growing darkness. Some were even helping it. Corruption ran deeper than he ever imagined. It wasn't just Death Eaters he had to fight, it was his own colleagues. That's when he began working alone more often. He didn't trust the system anymore, he trusted his instincts, and his instincts told him that no one was truly on his side. When Voldemort finally fell, Moody didn't celebrate. He didn't believe it was over. He knew evil didn't just disappear. It regrouped. It waited. He saw how quickly the wizarding world let down its defenses. He saw former Death Eaters slip through the cracks. He watched as people acted like the war had never happened. That's when he truly became the man people whispered about. He checked his drinks for poison. He never sat with his back to a door. He vanished for weeks at a time, tracking down anyone he suspected of continuing Voldemort's work. His most famous arrest after the war was that of Carrow twins. They were supposed to be reformed. The Ministry had let them go, claiming they were no longer a threat. Moody didn't believe that for a second. He followed them for months, watching, waiting. When he finally made his move, it wasn't in some grand battle. It was in the dead of night, in a remote house outside of Manchester. No one heard the fight. No one knew what happened. But the next morning, the Carrows were in Azkaban. People started calling him mad. They mocked his paranoia, laughed at his constant vigilance, but Moody didn't care. He knew what was coming. He knew Voldemort wasn't gone for good. When the Second Wizarding War began, Moody was one of the first to answer the call. He was older, slower, but no less deadly. He took command of the Order of the Phoenix after Dumbledore's death. He knew this war would be worse than the first. This time, Voldemort wasn't just trying to take power. He was trying to wipe out everyone who stood against him. Moody refused to let that happen. He trained the next generation of fighters. He made sure they knew how to defend themselves, how to fight without hesitation. He didn't sugarcoat anything. War was brutal. War was cruel. If they wanted to survive, they had to be ready for it. His final mission was supposed to be a simple one: move Harry Potter to safety. But Voldemort was waiting. The moment Moody took off into the sky, he knew it was a trap. He saw the Death Eaters closing in, saw Voldemort himself hunting him down. He could have turned back. He could have tried to escape. But that wasn't Moody's way. He fought to the last second, throwing every curse he had at the Dark Lord. The last thing anyone saw of him was a flash of green light. His body was never found. Some say it was lost in the storm. Others believe Death Eaters took it. But the truth is, it doesn't matter. Moody never needed a grave. His legacy was carved into history itself. Years later, those who trained under him still whispered his name. Aurors still told his stories. Dark wizards still flinched at the sound of it. Because Alastor Moody wasn't just a man, he was a warning, a reminder